All right, news now from our other neighbor that's also seeing a crisis. Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan, reduced to a minority in the assembly and fighting to remain in power, on Thursday refused to resign, saying he will fight till the last ball. Imran Khan alleged that there's a foreign conspiracy working against his government. There are also enemies inside the country who are cooperating with them. Imran Khan said he has virtually lost his majority in the 342-member National Assembly.
संडे को वोट दी जाएगी। इस संडे को इस मुल्क का फैसला होने लगा कि ये मुल्क किस तरफ अब जाएगा। मुझे लोगों ने किसी ने कहा जी वो इमरान खान आप रिजाइन कर दें। मैं रिजाइन कर दूं? मैं जो मेरे साथ क्रिकेट खेलते थे वो सारी दुनिया 20 साल जो मैं खेली है, आखिरी गेंद तक मैं मुकाबला करता हूं। मैं कभी हार जिंदगी में नहीं मानी। मैं तो वोट का जो भी रिजल्ट हो जाए आप देखेंगे कि मैं तो उसके बाद और ज्यादा तकड़ा होकर सामने आऊंगा, जो भी रिजल्ट हो। लेकिन मैं ये देखना चाहता हूं उस दिन, ये मैं चाहता हूं मेरी सारी कौम देखे कि कौन जाके अपने ज़मीर का सौदा करेगा वहां। कि अभी हमें 8 मार्च को या उससे पहले 7 मार्च को हमें एक अमेरिका ने एक बाहर से मुल्क ने, मैं नाम मतलब मेरा कि किसी और बाहर से मुल्क से हमें मैसेज आती है। ये है तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर के खिलाफ ही सिर्फ, लेकिन ये हमारी कौम के खिलाफ है। वो ये कहते हैं कि हमें, और एक बहाना मारते हैं कि हमें क्यों गुस्सा पाकिस्तान पे, यानी अगर इमरान खान चला जाता है तो पाकिस्तान को माफ कर देते हैं, लेकिन अगर ये इमरान खान के खिलाफ फेल हो जाती है तो फिर पाकिस्तान को एक मुश्किल वक्त का सामना करना पड़ेगा।
The United States has denied the Pakistan Prime Minister's claims of a foreign conspiracy.
Prime Minister of Pakistan accused the U.S. of working with the opposition to remove him from power. He just said that today. What's the White House reaction to that?
There is absolutely no truth to that allegation.
Now, amid the Ukraine war, there's a rush of diplomatic activity in India. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov landed in Delhi on Thursday. British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss met with Jaishankar yesterday as part of a wider diplomatic push on the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Biden sanctions man, the Deputy National Security Advisor for International Economics, Dalip Singh, an Indian American, is also in New Delhi and met with Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla. Mr. Lavrov, who is on a 2-day India visit, will meet the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar today. The U.S., meanwhile, has said it is not seeking to change India-Russian ties. This is what Ned Price said on Lavrov's visit to Delhi.
Countries are going to have their own relationship with the Russian Federation. It's a fact of history. It's a fact of geography. That is not something that we are seeking to change. What we are seeking to do, whether it is in the context of India or other partners and allies around the world, is to do all we can to see to it that the international community is speaking in unison, speaking loudly against this unjustified, unprovoked, premeditated aggression.
Russia has threatened to stop the supply of gas to foreign countries unless they start paying for it in rubles. Putin has signed a decree stating buyers must open ruble accounts in Russian banks starting Friday. Putin's demand is being seen as an attempt to boost the ruble, which has been hit by Western sanctions. Western companies and governments, meanwhile, have rejected Russia's demands, calling it a breach of existing contracts, which are set in euros or US dollars.
Сегодня мною подписан указ, который устанавливает правила торговли российским природным газом с так называемыми недружественными государствами. Мы предлагаем контрагентам из таких стран понятную и прозрачную схему. Чтобы приобрести российский природный газ, они должны открыть рублевые счета в российских банках. Именно с этих счетов будет вестись оплата газа, поставленного начиная с завтрашнего дня, с 1 апреля текущего года.
However, the French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire reiterated Thursday that Russian gas deliveries would continue to be paid for in euros, and he made these remarks after Russian President Vladimir Putin said Moscow would start accepting only ruble payments for its gas supplies from unfriendly countries.
Nous n'acceptons pas de payer les contrats gaziers dans une autre monnaie que celle qui est prévue par les contrats. Les contrats sont les contrats et les contrats doivent être rigoureusement respectés. Je vous confirme que les contrats en euros doivent être payés en euros et seront payés en euros.
And the German finance minister as well said after meeting his French counterpart in Berlin that energy imports from Russia would continue to be paid in euro. The French and German finance ministers, however, wouldn't comment in detail on Russia's demands that gas buyers open accounts at a Gazprom bank.
We are convinced contracts are contracts. The contracts are based on euro. And so we will continue to pay for energy imports in euro. Wir werden im Einzelnen prüfen, was vorgeschlagen und gefordert worden ist. Klar ist aber, dass es für uns keine Form von politischer Erpressung geben kann. Verträge werden so erfüllt, wie sie geschlossen worden sind. Insbesondere wollen wir keine weiteren Beiträge leisten, um Putins Kriegskasse zu füllen. Und deshalb bleiben die Sanktionen, die sich gegen die russische Zentralbank und auch die Währung richten, für uns essentiell notwendig.
US President Joe Biden has said there is no clear evidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin is pulling back any of his forces from capital Kiev. He also says that it appears that Putin is self-isolating and there is indication that he has fired some of his advisors.
The question of whether he's pulling back his forces depends on how you read exactly what's going on. Thus far, there is no clear evidence that he's pulling all of his forces out of Kiev. There is also evidence that he is beefing up his troops down in the Donbass area. Depending on your view of Putin, I'm a little skeptical.
And the State Department says they have confidence in intelligence information they're getting regarding Russian President Putin being misinformed by advisors about his military's performance in Ukraine. And this comes after U.S. intelligence officials said Putin is being misinformed by advisors, and those advisors are scared to tell him the truth.
When it comes to the reports that we've seen, we have seen reports that various Russian officials have been sidelined, are estranged, have been essentially put on ice, or, as the president alluded to, have even been placed under house arrest. Now, again, we're not going to go into the details of that or the rationale for that, but it would be quite consistent with what you have heard us say over the past 24 hours or so. We have reason to believe that President Putin does feel misled. I think there is good reason to believe he may feel misled even prior to the invasion. Why else would he undertake an invasion that was quite clear, would precipitate a whole series of consequences that we laid out in advance? He clearly miscalculated if he thought his forces would be able to achieve a quick tactical victory.
On the ground in Ukraine, destroyed Russian tanks line a road on the outskirts of the capital where Ukrainian troops posed for selfies atop the shell of one vehicle after their forces overran a Russian position. You could also see an elderly man biking close by and close to Kiev in Irpin. Ukrainian soldiers are carrying the bodies of civilians killed by Russian forces over a destroyed bridge. Ukrainian soldiers defending capital Kiev said they were skeptical of Russian announcements claiming they're scaling back military operations around the capital. At one of the checkpoints outside Kiev, a soldier said he was happy that Russians were pulling away, but said his guard hadn't been lowered and he was still ready to face the enemy.
Хто не вірить, ми не даємо себе ради в тому, що росіяни щось там не обіцяли. Доказано і доведено дуже багатьма подіями цієї війни, подіями тих воєн, які вони там вели до цього. Ми готові до будь-якого розвитку подій, тому що ми знаємо, що ми воюємо не з цивілізованою армією.
All right, let's get your news back home now, and some good news for consumers. No change in petrol and diesel prices today. However, the price of jet fuel has been hiked by 2% to over 1,12,000 per kiloliter. Time for us to slip into a short break. Coming up on the other side, Maharashtra all set to bid goodbye to the face mask. Welcome back. Maharashtra, which suffered worst from COVID, will now say goodbye to all pandemic-related restrictions starting Saturday as the state welcomes the Marathi New Year. The use of masks will be advised, but it will not be compulsory, is what the state government has said. The announcement of lifting restrictions was made by the office of Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. And West Bengal as well. Masks are no longer mandatory from Saturday. Also, sources have told NDTV that Delhi too will review fines on people not wearing masks as COVID cases have fallen to a 2-year low. The Delhi Disaster Management Authority will discuss removing the mask fine. It's a 500 rupee fine for not wearing a mask in Delhi, which could now be lifted. No challan for not wearing a mask in Delhi. And Delhi mask fine was first reduced, and now finally it may be removed. News now from the Northeast, and in a major outreach to northeastern states, Home Minister Amit Shah announced the areas covered under the controversial Law Armed Forces Special Powers Act in Nagaland, Assam and Manipur will be reduced after decades. Crediting the leadership of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the move, he said the improved security situation and fast-track development due to the consistent efforts and several agreements to end insurgency and bring lasting peace in the Northeast has now made it possible.
In a single tweet by the Home Minister, a major announcement: the footprint of the controversial Armed Forces Special Powers Act reduced in 3 northeastern states. A closer look reveals that this is a partial withdrawal. In Assam, AFSPA has been withdrawn in 23 districts. In Nagaland, it has been withdrawn in areas under 15 police stations in 7 districts. In Manipur, AFSPA has been withdrawn in areas under 15 police stations of 6 districts. The Home Minister pitched the rollback as a result of the improved security situation.
It's a historic moment for the people of northeastern region. Lots of efforts have been put in by Prime Minister Modi ji and Home Minister Amit Shah ji to bring peace and tranquility all along northeastern region. This shows that the era of peace and development has arrived in northeastern region in true sense.
But the move is seen as linked to the massive backlash after the army shot and killed 14 men in Nagaland last year in a botched operation. Regardless, chief ministers in the northeast welcomed the move.
This is one of the most bold initiative. It is one of the important initiative taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah, because it will send a signal to investor.
Others say the act should have been withdrawn a long time ago.
We demand to repeal totally this AFSA. This is anti-people, anti-democratic law, black law, so this should be definitely withdrawn.
This move by the centre is expected to create a positive momentum for the BJP in the region and also help pave way for fast-tracking the Naga peace talks as well as peace parleys with Ulfa. But the big question is, will the armed forces, who had prosecution immunity due to AFSPA in alleged extrajudicial killings, be now brought to justice? With Ratnadeep Chaudhary in Guwahati, Bureau Report, NDTV.
News now from Karnataka. In the middle of a row over a call by right-wing groups in the state to ban Muslim traders from temple festivals and a controversy over halal meat, Biocon Chief Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw has urged Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai to resolve the growing religious divide in the state, leading to a sharp response from some in the BJP. The Karnataka Chief Minister has called for peace over social issues.
ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಇಶ್ಯೂಗಳು ಚರ್ಚೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಒಂದು ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮವಸ್ತ್ರ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಈಗ ಇತ್ಯರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟಿನ ಜಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಂದು. ಇನ್ನು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟವರಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ತಮ್ಮ ತಮ್ಮ ನಂಬಿಕೆಗಳ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಬದುಕು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕ ವಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಹಕಾರ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಶಾಂತಿಗೆ ಹೆಸರಾಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಪ್ರಗತಿಗೆ ಹೆಸರಾಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗದಂತೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಂಯಮವನ್ನು ತಾಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಶಾಂತಿ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಹಲವಾರು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕವಾಗಿ ಉದ್ಭವ ಆದಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಗೆಹರಿಸಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ
Biocon Chief Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw speaking up against what she says is a growing communal atmosphere in Karnataka. She has urged Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai to resolve the growing religious divide in the state, warning that if the tech sector becomes communal, it will destroy India's global leadership in it. Kiran Shaw is the first big corporate leader to publicly voice concerns over what she calls communal exclusion, days after the Karnataka government cited an old rule barring non-Hindus from doing business on temple premises. The BJP has accused her of expressing a politically colored opinion. Meanwhile, a special campaign against halal meat in Karnataka. Through these pamphlets, right-wing Hindu organizations are appealing to Hindus not to buy halal meat from Muslim shops. And ruling BJP scholars and some ministers in the state are supporting it.
ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಜಿಹಾದ್ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರ ಹತ್ರ ಮುಸಲ್ಮಾನರು ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಮಾಡಬಾರದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಹಲಾಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಜಿಹಾದ್ ತರ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇರಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Former Chief Minister Kumaraswamy has attacked Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai.
ಈ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾನ ಮರ್ಯಾದೆ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಬೊಮ್ಮಾಯಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಗಂಡುಸ್ತನ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಇದು ತಡಿಲಾರದೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪದ, ಆ ಪದ ನಾನು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು. ಇಷ್ಟು ದಿವಸದಿಂದ ಈ ತರ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಮಗೇನೋ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೌನವಾಗಿದ್ರೆ.
ಯಾರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂಘಟನೆಗಳು ಹಲವಾರು ಅಭಿಯಾನಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ವಿ ನೋ ವಾಟ್ ಟು ರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಟು ನಾಟ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡ್. ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ.
NDTV Bureau Report.
News now on UP and UP politics. Akhilesh Yadav's reunion with his uncle Shivpal is in trouble again. Just days after the Samajwadi Party lost the UP election, sources tell NDTV that Shivpal Yadav is set to break his alliance with Akhilesh. He reportedly met with leaders of his Pragatishil Samajwadi Party and told them be prepared for a big fight. Shivpal Yadav's meeting with UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath earlier has reinforced speculation that he's on the verge of a switch. He has, however, maintained silence on a possible tie-up with the ruling BJP.
सारे समर्थक इस वक्त आपकी ओर नजरें लगाए हुए हैं, क्या संदेश देना चाहेंगे हमारे जरिए?
मुझे कुछ नहीं कहना है, चाहे परेशान हो, जब हम प्रेस बुला लेंगे तब बोल देंगे.
कल मुख्यमंत्री जी साथ हुई, उसमें
शिष्टाचार बहत है.
आ जा रहे हैं कि आप राज्यसभा जा रहे हैं, इसमें सच्चाई है या नहीं?
अभी हम कुछ बता ही नहीं सकते, बोल ही नहीं सकते. जब बोलेंगे तब आपको बुला लेंगे.
दिल्ली में क्या अमित शाह से मुलाकात
करवा सकते हो? करवा सकते हो, क्यों ऐसी बातें पूछ रहे हैं?
The Anti-Drugs Agency, the NCB, has got a 60-day extension to file a charge sheet in the case of Aryan Khan. The agency had sought 90 more days in the case involving Shah Rukh Khan's son. The NCB was supposed to submit a charge sheet on the 2nd of April. The agency in its plea cited a prime witness turning hostile as one of the reasons for its request to extend the deadline. News now from Rajasthan, where a local BJP leader in the state has been arrested for instigating a mob to harass a doctor after the death of a patient in a private hospital that she owned. The doctor, who was accused of murder, died by suicide on Wednesday, leaving behind a heartbreaking suicide note where she asserted her innocence.
The suicide of a lady doctor in Rajasthan's Dausa, which led to widespread protests, is now acquiring political overtones. The 42-year-old lady doctor Archana Sharma committed suicide as she was charged with murder after one of her patients, a pregnant woman, died while delivering a baby. The dead woman's family, accompanied by a mob, came and demonstrated outside her hospital. They only left after the police filed a case of murder against Dr. Archana Sharma and her husband. Distraught, Dr. Sharma committed suicide, leaving behind a tragic note in which she wrote that the death of the pregnant woman was not her fault, that the pregnant woman died due to postpartum hemorrhage. She also wrote in the letter that she made all efforts to save the pregnant woman. "Don't harass innocent doctors," she wrote in capital letters in the suicide note, and said her death would prove her innocence. She also asked the authorities not to harass her husband and 2 young children after she was gone. The doctor's family has blamed local BJP leaders for instigating the pregnant woman's family against them.
उनको बर्खास्त किया जाना चाहिए, 302 उन्होंने लगाई कैसे, सारे उनको बर्खास्त किया जाना चाहिए। और दूसरी बात, ऐसा कोई सिस्टम बने विधानसभा में, भले ही कानून पास हो, कि अस्पतालों के आगे मोताना मांगने की जो प्रथा है ये बंद होनी चाहिए। मेरी पत्नी तो चली गई, वो तो कभी नहीं आएगी, और कोई और डॉक्टर ना बने।
2 people, including a local BJP leader, Jitendra Gotwal, have been arrested after the Chief Minister stepped in and said tough action would be taken against those who harassed the doctor couple.
इनका आरोप है कि भीड़ को उकसाने का काम किया है, लोगों को भ्रमित करने का काम।
इनके पास इस तरह की कोई वीडियो पुलिस के पास हो कि मैंने उकसाने का काम किया है, तो मैं जीवन में राजनीति छोड़ दूंगा।
But the police say they have evidence of the presence of these people with the mob at the hospital.
पुलिस ने जो वीडियो जब्त किए हैं, उस वीडियो में कुछ लोगों को पहचान की गई है और 36 में जो नाम आए हैं उनमें से 2 नाम के आरोपी ब्राह्मण और बैरवा और एक जितेंद्र गोपाल, उनको गिरफ्तार किया।
And with the doctor fraternity keeping up the pressure on the case and the arrest of a BJP leader, this incident could snowball further. In Jaipur, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.